Hello, my name is Justin Ferrate, and on behalf of the Llewellyn Galleries in Santa Fe, New Mexico, I'd like to welcome you to just a brief glimpse of the works of that very talented California artist, Ynez Johnston. Ynez Johnston was fascinated by worlds that were beyond her ken. She was always seeking and trying to learn more about other cultures. So we'll see that reflected in these two sculptures, which we will discuss in a minute. But before we do that, let us look instead at one of Ynez Johnston's many paintings, because these are very unusual works and they're very telling and would be very influential on her sculptures, and her sculptures would be influential on her paintings. What she is doing is like Marco Polo's journey. She's going off to these magical worlds that she's never been to before, and she wants the viewer to join her on this magical trip as she's going through these wonderful places that are all in her mind. You see these sculptures are almost architectural, but sometimes they're almost like living creatures. So a building becomes an animal. You can see that, for example, in this piece, it could very, very easily be an Aztec ruin. You can see this great pyramidal shape, and yet it's topped with this almost living form at the top. So is this a pyramid? Is this an animal? Is this a pyramid-shaped animal? We're never quite certain, and very importantly, she wants you to be taken by the sense of awe that she experiences. One of the interesting things about her technique is it's very tactile. Ynez Johnston loved her materials. She loved the paint that she worked with. She loved the plaster that she worked with. And one of the interesting things here is what you may not be able to see on the video is all of these outlined aspects are in raised gesso. They're actually three-dimensional. You actually could touch them, and there's a very strong feeling of the tangible. Conveying that even more so is what may not immediately be apparent, is she's actually used her thumb and fingers to create these shapes on the canvas. These are done in different colorations of blues and lavenders, and yet they've created this wonderful background pattern. So let us look at her sculpture, Early Rider, which has, again, that sort of fusion of different cultures. This could be almost an ancient Trojan figure. Look at his posture. His posture is like an incredibly skilled dancer's posture, standing very regally on the back of this rather strange looking animal. But as strange as the animal is, he's a friendly, strange animal. And one of the things about Ynez Johnston's works is always friendly. There's no sense of anything being other than this is really quite magical. And magic is the word that keeps coming time and time and time again in terms of her work. Look at this figure with a rather curious nose. It could be like the trunk of an elephant, but he's got a pyramid on his head. I have never seen an animal with a pyramid on his head. We'll look at the curious claws here, and yet, as we saw in the paintings with those raised figures, she's created in the bronze these raised shapes that are almost like Egyptian hieroglyphs, but she's colored them with an enamel that gives it the feeling almost of it's being bejeweled. This is, of course, a magical spectacle. This is a delightful figure, and the use of the green enameling against the bronze is a wonderful contrast of colors and gives you a sense of form and shape. But form and shape here uses many of the same techniques, and this piece has somewhat of a classical reference to the quest for the golden fleece. And you can see the figure riding in, again, an almost dancer-like position. Look at the straight verticality of that figure, and he's holding this trophy, the fleece, over his head. But this is Ynez Johnston, so you have to go back into ancient cultures. So look here at the almost runic, and these are again three-dimensional shapes here, much like our paintings, these runic figures here that seem to be telling the story of an ancient civilization. And our job is to try to figure out what the writing says. We're looking for our own Rosetta Stone. But the thing with Ynez Johnston, she believes each person possesses their own Rosetta Stone, their own way of translating the ancient languages. And that's what she's asking you to do. The figure itself is almost like a Trojan horse, but again, it's a very friendly figure. There's nothing about this that's scary or frightening. It's one of those things that you almost feel playfulness of the horse. And so here is this rider very majestically riding on this playful horse. And so again, this is all that wonderful, fascinating sense of otherworldliness that Ynez Johnston is reaching for. So I hope you've enjoyed your little glimpse of the works of Ynez Johnston. And on behalf of Llewellyn Galleries in Santa Fe, New Mexico, thank you very much for being with us today.